let's talk about new hires. It's obviously difficult to get people implemented. Do we do that through baptism by fire? Do we, throw them in, or do we have maybe a computer-based program that we send in? But you've got to have some type of onboarding process that I'm going to encourage you to think about and be very intentional, if you will, about this. Now, I'm going to tell you a story here. I was an FDIC examiner, as I told you before, and I should stop and say, hi, my name's Dave. I'm a recovering regulator. It's something I vow to do every time I mention that. But the story I want to go to is we were doing a Bank Secrecy Act audit at an institution, and part of that is walking up to the tower line and asking some questions and finding out if they understood what they needed to do. And I asked this young lady, as I walked up there, I noticed also the other tellers all, just left her alone. Think about that, wolf, sheep, anyway, but just kidding. The point is I had to ask her some questions, and I mentioned a scenario of, I bring in 9,000 in cash, and then I do an extra 3,000 in cash. What do you do? Thinking that she would understand currency transaction reports, multiple transactions. And she said something about filling out a deposit slip. And I said, anything else? And she said, well, if you have a pet with you, we have a biscuit that we give to your dog. Okay, so I pull out my red pen, as all good examiners would have, and I, ask her for her name again, and I realize, that this is going rough on her, and I leave, and I go in the back room and high five the other examiners. No, that's not true at all. But anyway, but I was astonished. I mean, she knew nothing about currency transaction reports. A little bit later, the cashier came back and asked me, what did you say to Sally, the teller? And I said, well, I asked her these questions, and she told me that she was crying in the back room. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's never the intention, seriously. So I said, well, what's the deal? She didn't know anything about it. She said, well, it's her second day on the job. I said, all right, I'll go back out and ask somebody else, but shame on you for leaving her alone. You should, again, wolf, lamb, right? You shouldn't leave her out there like that. And in the real world, if somebody asks you a question that you don't know, you're probably going to ask your fellow workers for how do we handle this? You're not in a vacuum, yet that's the position they put her in. So make sure that your new hires are never left alone, especially when the examiners are there.